have my face.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to.
Great angle, just the chin. All right.
You're on, Bryan.
All right. All right. Thanks for joining us. Vince, thanks for hosting and for the intro. So my name is Bryan Coble. I've met some of you. I know some of you pretty well. But yeah, I'm the president of ACC Go-to-Market Consulting. So the background, et cetera, doesn't matter. I'm going to get into that. But first, I know everybody showed up today to just hear about career advancement, getting the most out of your effort. And typically how I like to start this is just a congratulations, right? So if you're here today, the people online, I wish you could be here, but for those in the room, just, congratulations for, stepping up, coming out, focusing in on growing yourself. And for the next 45 minutes, if you've ever wanted the title of CEO, you just got it. Okay. So congratulations. You're all CEOs now just by being in the class. I mean, there's no money. But effectively, just doing things like this and coming together and collaborating, it does make a difference. So what I like to do is just get a quick sense. I mean, I want to keep this interactive, and I know some of you I don't know, but just a quick around the room. We can take like 5 seconds apiece and just introduce yourself, and then you don't have to tell your life story, but kind of what your focus is in your career. If you're in sales, if you're in management or marketing or product or whatever, if you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, I just like to go around the room real quick and just, so one, everybody, I know my audience, and then two, everybody can kind of make some connections. Start here.
All right, I'm Joe Bly. I'm on List Track, digital marketing company. I'm a sales guy, so that's my ambition at the moment.
Perfect.
Paul Flieger, I'm at Class Wallet, K-12 sales. Lee Whitley, I'm a sales recruiter. I am in business with the recruiting partners. I've got 3 employees. I recruit salespeople for people like Paul and Connor Strat, that site software. So I have a few people here, but candidates and sales leaders are the people that I try to help in their careers.
Brad Murphy. I've been in IT sales for the last 15 years. Currently building the Raleigh franchise for 10X Consulting Group, where we focus on cloud services, managed services, and staff augmentation services within IT. And going to be coming in here and working more. So get out of the house.
Remember,
need a new space, right? So look forward to seeing you all soon.
I'm Trip Adams. I'm an account executive and solutions engineer with a small startup called Field to Base.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emma Wright. I'm an account executive, so sales with Sirius Insight.
Yeah, I'm Blaine Owens. I'm the account management team at Pearson Site, and I run the partner program as well.
Awesome.
My name is Tanner Gold, SDR at Sirius Insight.
Linda Guten, that's G-U-T. You need a pen? G-U-T-I-N. Guten, wait a resume. Hold on, let me read to get it. But I specialize in helping people have the best resume in every file. And they often, salespeople always know their numbers, but they don't necessarily take credit to every things that they do. And that's why I want to see what you teach people within an organization how to keep track of it.
Perfect.
Yeah, Bryan.
You should get that. You'll get that here today. We'll get there.
Oh, I'm Rachel Buchanan. I am a marketing consultant for kind of startup to mid-size.
Hey everyone, Alex Peterson. So I'm an account exec at a company called Instabug. So we do mobile app performance software. That's the simplest way to put it. To be honest, I don't still know what I want to do when I grow up. Oh, you want to be a fireman? And it's all lips. But yeah, right. Good to see you, by the way.
Yeah, I was like, exactly. Okay.
Connor Strat. I've been a sales leader at multiple companies, and I founded a digital sales company called Champion.
Hi, Camille Larson. I'm a sales leader at Sirius Insight.
Awesome. And again, Bryan Coble. So what I do right now, I do go-to-market consulting, fractional sales leadership. That's my consulting business. But what I think would be helpful, on this topic, I know I get what we're all here for. How the class was marketed around career advancement, how to really have a plan for that, and understanding how to do that, right? So I'll start with a story about how I failed at this and failed miserably. And then ultimately, I'll kind of talk about the framework and how it was set up. So I'd say my sales background. So I was with a startup to grow up, bootstrap SaaS company. Let's date this back. This is like 2009 or something. So I'm like, my profile at that time was, I was pretty cocky. I had some success. I was working with a really good company, and I had good leaders that had done it before, from a sales perspective, from a marketing perspective. But at the time, how I looked at my career growth was very, I'd say it's selfish. I kind of called it like the give me approach. So by way of example, let's say it's 2010, that time frame. I'd had some success. The way the business was set up, we had some senior salespeople that kind of coached me along, and then, I was able to be successful. But I can remember just, always having this desire, like, hey, how do I, because I was a salesperson, like, how do I make more money? How am I going to get it? Right. And, my approach at the time was within the four walls of my company, just going to my boss. I could see what the CEO had done. He had an exit before. And so it was just within those four walls, I was just like looking for professional development or, ways to make more money. And again, the failure really was, I was just looking for it to be served up to me, if that made sense. Like, hey, if I hit X, am I going to be promoted to the senior account executive or whatever the next step was? And I had this, total false perception that, that meant more money. And, for my goals, for personal growth and wealth and all those good things. The failure really was, it was just, I thought it had to be served up to me. Right. It's kind of selfish, et cetera. So, really the epiphany moment I had. So I'll fast forward a little bit. That same company, we were a bootstrap SaaS startup, kicking ass, taking names. And then we took on a private equity partner. So we got some capital. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh, here we go. Like, it's just going to flow in. We're going to get better when you get investment, it's like better products, more people, all this stuff. And then fast forward, I'd done well. I got promoted into like a quasi leadership role, like team lead of a small team. We did well. And I kept going to my VP, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm getting more quota. How do I make more money? More people. How do I make more money? And he finally just said, I had a great boss, and he finally just said, he could have fired me, but he said, Bryan, listen, I've given you everything I can give you from a development standpoint. Like, you're a good salesperson, you're a good manager, your people like you, kind of thing. But if you really want to grow, you've got to get outside these four walls and really understand what your, understand your personality, what your strengths are. Go get professional development. And he encouraged it. So at that point, it kind of hit me in the face, and I'm like, okay, how do I go do this? Like, how do I really grow as a professional? I kind of had a track. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but like everybody else in our types of roles, like we're still trying to figure it out. But I knew I wanted to be successful. And so, then I went into this zone of just, hey, what are all the books I can read? I mean, you look at, in my opinion, LinkedIn is founded on professional development experts out there, and then it's a recruiting platform. But there's all this information out there. There's just so much stuff. It's just a lot of dopamine to take in. and really determine like, hey, what do I need to do to be the best me that I could be? And so I got lucky. After that. So spent a lot of time just trudging through. Like I read all the books, all the things that you're told to read, the 7 Habits, all the sales books, which are great. But I did get lucky, and so for me, I did, following the advice of my boss at the time, get outside the 4 walls and really look for mentorship was really what the advisement was. And so I actually went into Bell Leadership. I don't know what Bell Leadership is. It's a local company here. They do leadership development, 360 evaluations, all this stuff. And through that, it was an investment. So through that, I actually got connected with other salespeople. It was actually locally here in Raleigh, which was great. So very similar to like the group we have here today. But it was a organized, think about like a Vistage or an EO for sales and sales leadership. And these people I was connected with, this was an organized, structured meeting. So we meet monthly. We'd solve group problems, and the people that were in this group, I mean, they were hitters. So guys and ladies that have been CEOs and founders at multiple exited companies, VPs of sales and marketing from big blue chip companies, and they were all there. So I had this benefit of this mentorship group. And when I got into that, I'd say the one thing that this is the framework I'm going to show you. The one thing that was constantly trying to be solved was like, what does the DNA look like of successful people, right? And really, what the punchline was and how we figured it out over time was, the ones that the top earners, the founding CEOs that make exits, the enterprise level salespeople, the best sales leaders, their DNA is entrepreneurial. Like they are entrepreneurial people. Like they figure it out and they're organized. And that's the simple equation, right? So what my leadership team did for me, and what I'm going to show you is not my content. This is the DNA of those people. And yeah, by the way, the companies that I've been in for the past 10 years, we've leveraged this framework to really organize, just organize your game, organize your game as a professional. And the key here is how it worked and how it has worked is just to keep it simple approach, right? Like I said, there's all this information out there. There's all these things out there that you can do to consistently like check yourself and keep yourself on the A game. But time is something we don't have a lot of. So having a framework to keep it organized was really, really successful for me and others. So, with that, I'm going to just share this. I mean, this is just mind-boggling complex, right? It's a circle. It's a circle with a bunch of other circles around it. But conceptually, the UCEO means you're the owner of your career. Like back to my learning experience, once I figured this out and other successful people figured this out, like it's not going to be served up for you. Like you own everything, right? So this concept that we came up with is call it UCEO, or we call it Welcome to You Incorporated. And so to keep things organized, and again, I'm going to pivot into a discussion here in a minute, so I'm not just talking at you. But to keep things organized, this is how my leadership group put this together, right? So first and foremost, right, it's health. Okay. So if you look at the DNA of successful people, I think most of you in this room, if you're here, again, we almost got promoted to CEO 10 minutes ago. Health is an important thing, right? And what we mean by health is not just your physical, but your mental and that type of focus. So, the traits you see, successful CEOs have, a lot of CEOs I network with now, they put a big priority on meditation, having a workout routine or a structure around that. But the other thing with health too is it's the personal priority, right? So it's ensuring you're prioritizing, like planning your next vacation, right? I mean, the world we work in right now, it can be heavy. So just first and foremost, it's your health. Okay. The second block here is mentors. Okay. So the mentorship game, for me personally, this is really where I've had the most successful growth. Again, back to my epiphany moment, my failure. When I got outside of my four walls and started leaning into mentorship, that's when things really took off for me personally, because I had people that weren't my bosses holding me accountable, people that knew a lot more than I did at other things. And then the one thing about mentors is it's easy to say like, oh, hey, yeah, I mentor, I network, and, I get out there a little bit, and, my uncle was in sales, so I go meet with him kind of thing. But with mentors, I'd say the key punchline here is having them organized and structured, right? So that's the mentor block. Organization. Okay. So yes.
I don't think anyone's not going to agree with you. You need a mentor, but how does one find one, and when you were at this company, how did they align you with the mentor? Is that all on you? It was sales executive.
It's all on me. So Vince, that was one of my discussion questions for the group.
Sorry. Hold it then.
Yeah. Well, can we just pause? Let me kind of get to the framework, and then that's what I want to talk about. I want to just open that to group discussion. Yeah. All right. Again, this is real simple. So organization. So this is like your company business plan. So what this bucket kind of falls into is you as a person, having structured goals, right? Not taking goals from a board or leadership, but really you as a goal, as a person having a business plan effectively. So understanding, and this kind of ties into really understanding your strengths and weaknesses as you as a business. How is your research and development going? If you're in sales, let's just be real. If you're in sales, like you have to have a marketing department within your business of you. I mean, I love marketing, especially going back there. However, just in a sales role in particular, just understanding your internal marketing strategy, that's an example of your organization. And this organization also ties into, like, in your business and the environment, like soft plug here for Sales HQ, really understanding at your business, are you set up for the best success of where you're working and how you're doing your stuff? So that's organizations. That's your business. Priority. Okay. So priority, I mean, the one thing I've seen a lot of this, really successful people understand prioritization, right? So, going into your day-to-day, there's strategies, there's your organization, your business plan. But at the end of the day, like executing daily on the most important things and understanding what those are, this really where time blocking methodologies come into place, understanding what's urgent, what's important. But I'd say the main thing here that I saw with my leadership group, other successful CEOs and VPs I've worked with, they understand how to eat the frog. Does everybody understand the concept of eat the frog? Read that book? So Lee, it's the thing you don't want to do every day. Do that thing first.
Your mic on.
Check, check.
Just ask a question.
Okay. All right. So eat the frog, understand time blocking. All right. Resources. So resources are the things that are not in your business, but that you're supporting with, right? So understanding. So if you work for a company, if you do work for a company, you're not a solopreneur, you know, there's resources within that company that you can lean into and apply. So this would be like your company's marketing department, your finance department, often things that as a salesperson, you're probably not that good at that you can lean into. As a business owner, the way I look at this resources is, you know, I've got operating partners, there's vendors that I leverage. So just understanding what bucket those things go into so you can lean into them. And lastly is brand. And really with brand, it's just intentionality on how the world sees you, either within your business, your colleagues, how you're personally seen, but it's just awareness of brand. So the concept on this really, you know, complex circle is that you're able to look at this and, you know, just it's a check yourself for your growth. Like the growth plan is, okay, you know, if I dive in every Monday morning, I just make it for how I do this is I just make it part of my Monday morning routine to look at this circle. And it's like, okay, my health game, I'm a 3 out of 5 right now. What am I going to do this week to get it better? Like, am I going to schedule some meditations? Am I going to, you know, plan a trip? But the point is it's there and it's organized. It's in some kind of a structure. Mentorship, same thing. It's like, if you can go in there, like, what's the mentorship game like right now? You know, we'll talk about this. Organization, same thing. So does everybody kind of understand the concept of the very simple circle that's surrounded by other circles? So with that, we're not done. This is the meat of the content because we're going to talk. We're going to talk. So, you know, I did want to just, you know, kind of post some questions to the group around this. I think we can. I can jump to Vince's question first. So we'll talk mentors. So, you know, the way I look at it is like, this is my personal board of advisors, and they're very, very important, and it's managed. That's how I look at it. So Vince, your question was, did my company pair me with a mentor?
I think the biggest challenge for me, others I've met, is finding, or how do you find one that's a good fit for you? And not mentor, you keep mentioning mentors, right? So how does one go about that?
How does one go about that? I mean, my experience was, you know, I started going to the places where successful people hung out. Just as, you know, I treated it like a sales process. Like, hey, where do I go to network? So I went to Bell Leadership. Bell Leadership's like an immersive 360 evaluation. Like, you're going to cry to, you know, when you learn all your faults kind of stuff. But with that session, I went to 2 sessions with them. They were like multiple weeks. I connected with multiple people there, just throughout those interactions. You know, I went to the cocktail hour and talked, found other sales leaders that had, you know, like-minded goals. And that really wasn't where I got the mentors from. I was just asking them like the same question you're asking me, you know, hey, I'm looking for some expertise in whatever I was working on at the time, executive presence, right? And then this one guy, Jason, that I was connected with at Bell Leadership, referred me over to Bryan Doyle, who spoke here last time. And so I just took the initiative and connected with Bryan. And then just so happened, it was maybe serendipitous that he was already part of a mentor group that I got tied into. So to answer your question, it takes some effort. It takes some prospecting, and you have to be very clear on, you know, what you're looking for and set expectations with mentors. Most people that I mentor or have mentored me, there's a very clear, you know, it's like, hey, it's a mutual respect, but it's, you know, up front, I'm like, hey, I'm looking for mentorship, and can you help me? And then we structure it like, hey, Bryan, are you down for getting coffee once a quarter? Yes, absolutely. And we can talk about these things. So it's, to answer the question, I know a lot of companies do structured mentor programs within the business, and that's fine. I don't knock on that, but those things often only lasts for a certain amount of time. And then my experience was getting outside the four walls of your business was really helpful. All right.
Hey, Brian.
Yes.
I was thinking, because I think I interned for Brian and then worked my way up from BDR to AE. And I mean, even, starting my career with you, I still remember, and it wasn't necessarily getting out of the four walls just yet, but I think my first month or so I was grinding, I was struggling a little bit. And you just said, go talk to the top performing person. You didn't tell me who it was, like kind of having to do some homework, learn. And then like the top 3 or 4 people, pick their brain, meet with them once a quarter. And then that network starts to unfold that all of these top people are meeting outside of the organization. So, I mean, I remember starting my career with you and building that mentorship internally and then finding out what's making them successful was external.
Yep. And those people you went to, I mean, they weren't opposed to mentoring you. They're like, heck yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
People
and that's
like
what
helping
runs the
people.
team, so it's win-win for everyone.
Yeah.
But, I think ultimately, talking about the growth of that company and the success we had for all those years, I mean, it was that energy and that initiative for people to grow certainly helped.
Absolutely. So in Tripp's case, it started as some internal, and then as he went out, our top hitters in this company, their network, they have mentors. And so it just spread from there. Do you have a question? Hand raised up, Paul.
Oh, yeah, I would just kind of like hit the middle point between Trip said and what Brian said. It's like finding people that are in the position that you want to get to, and people that are successful in your position at your company. Great. I've had a ton of success talking with people in other companies, other roles, other departments as well. I don't know how long they've been in their role, but like I know I've worked with tons of people who've gone on to different companies, different roles, different responsibilities, entirely different industries. Connecting with them and hearing what they're making folks successful in other companies as well, whether it's a friend that you used to work with or somebody who's a top performer in another company that met randomly at a network. Don't be limited to just the role you're in and the role you want to get to. Go outside of your company role, look for the mentorship and
This way.
I was just gonna, I mean, I know we're on the topic of business mentors, if looking back at my career, if I had to do it all over again, I probably would have sought out a life mentor early on in my career. One for, helping me work through better self-awareness, how to deal with demands and stress, of sales in and of itself, particularly if you're, starting a family or, have a young family, how to manage a lot of that as well as your, career and your position in your company. My recommendation, being a senior person in the room, and looking back at how I probably didn't handle a lot of that very, very well. I would definitely seek a life mentor as well, for sure.
Yep. What's your name again?
Brad.
Thank you for bringing that up. I actually had that in my brain and totally forgot it, but absolutely the life executive coach person falls into that mentor group. And I've had a similar experience. I did not have a performance coach, life coach, however you want to brand it, up until about 4 years ago. And it made a big difference because, in business in general, like Brad's saying, it can be stressful. We're not saving the world, but we are, with sales. So there's a lot of pressure with it. So just having that, that coach there. And I think the other thing that's important too, and it does tie into organization, but when you start working with a life coach or executive coach, I'd say most of them that I've worked with and seen, they really want to understand your personality profile. So understanding like what your disc profile is. Everything's okay. We're all doing the best we can. You know, you've got your strengths, you've got your weaknesses, but having that life coach there, that's been huge. Yes.
Do you have a specific operational definition of what a mentor would be, internal versus external? Because I work with a lot of people who are just starting their careers and they hear the word mentor and I tell them what I think it is, but I guess that there's probably a more robust definition.
That's a good question. That's a good question. I would say a mentor versus just somebody you network with. It's structured. Like there's some structure to it. And like the example I gave of, Brian Doyle, it's like when I, first started working with him, our group had a structure, but there was also expectations of like, there's to-dos, like, hey, accountabilities, we're going to get coffee. I want to hear how this is going. So I think it's just quick answer would be some structure. And then compared to like a coach, like, I mean, my life coach, I pay my life coach. Like it's a paid engagement, and well worth it. Yes, sir.
I'm curious on the health thing. So I have 3 daughters, 10th grade, 8th grade, 4th grade. So I'm in that like crazy kids place. They're doing very busy with activities and no drivers to help out yet. My life back in like a creative direction. So like waking up at 6:30 and we're racing at that point. Like get the kids out the door and then I'm trying to work from 8 to 5 and then 5 p.m. My wife and I split, go in 3 different directions. And then my kids go to bed at like 10:30, which is when I want to go to bed at 10:30 so I can get a halfway decent. So I look at it, my hours in the day, and I'm like, when the heck am I supposed to exercise? When the heck am I supposed to do my job? How in the world do I maintain an actual relationship with my wife when we're 2 different soccer fields? So I was kind of gratified. So I feel very much the constraints of my phase of life while trying to do a good job at my job. So for your people that you work with, people that you can see, like, how do they fit meditation, exercise, relationships into their actual field?
Sleep less.
Can you repeat that question? Because I don't know if people can hear us in the audience.
Yeah. Okay. So
Summarize and repeat it.
the question is, and I'm in the same boat, right? So, in a certain time of life where, things are very busy, you have, multiple priorities, family, kids can't drive themselves, et cetera. How do you prioritize, meditating or working out or spending time with your wife? What's the method for that? I mean, I'll open that up to the group. You probably have, I've got a short answer, but I'd like to hear anybody else's stuff. Sleep less.
I can hear where we are because I have the exact same thing. So the biggest thing that we have done this year is really looked at the priority bucket, and we've had to say no to some things or work to rearrange some things. And sometimes it just needs a little bit more effort. Like I have 2 boys that play football. They have 2-hour practices. So yes, I mean, so sometimes it just means my husband and I are like, one of us will drive to the other field and we'll go for a walk and just catch up during that time. It's a little inconvenient, but it also checks the box. I don't mean checks the box as in just, but it meets a need, right? Both health and the relationship health. So I think health is bigger than just exercising. It's really like analyzing everything that I'm doing. I mean, for the last couple of years, everything it was just so chaotic and just so constant, and it was not sustainable. And I was breaking down from a health perspective. And so I don't know if that's helpful or not, but that's reset a little bit.
I concur. I mean, yeah, it kind of ties into priority. I would, and by the way, like everybody's just doing the best they can. Okay. Everybody's doing the best they can. All right. And it's not, you can't beat yourself up when you look at your health bucket and you're like, oh, I'm 5 pounds overweight or whatever it is. And I want to be here. I'm not spending the time I want. It's just understanding it. So, I mean, how I put it into practice, and I have the same, I mean, not the same lifestyle, but it's very similar. Like, holy crap, like how can I prioritize all this? And so I just understand priority. And then you just manage your calendar. And yes, if you can get an extra hour out of the day by getting up a little earlier, it helps. That's been helpful for me in recent months. I'm not a morning person. I'm going to be honest with you. I know apparently all successful people are, but I'm not. So it's helpful. But like on the prioritization side, I have this I'm reading my Monday morning. I have a Monday morning planning session with myself. Never miss it. And I literally like, I look at my calendar. I got blocks. I do the time blocking thing, like 90-minute chunks, which for the most part is pretty successful. But what I keep in front of me, I'm going to read it out because I'm not an expert on it. My life coach actually gave me this. So it's the priority matrix of Covey, so the 7 habits. And so it's just understanding as things come up or whenever you're tasking yourself out and building your calendar, what's important but not urgent. So these are the things that are emotionally fulfilling for you. So in life and work, what's important and urgent. This is like the rubber hits the road shit, like making my prospecting calls, doing my invoicing, closing a sale, like understanding what those tasks are. And then the next thing is what's not important, but it's urgent to somebody else. And so I think to Rachel's point on saying no to things, those are the things that I've had to say no to. Like if it's super important to somebody else, but it doesn't align with my goals and my family, then we're out. And then not important, not urgent, that's like distractions, right? So that's like being on social media, doing unhealthy things, so I don't know if that's helpful, but that's just kind of how I go about it.
Thanks, Bryan. So I read that book about a year ago, and I had all my notes on my phone, and it's funny you brought that up. What the third habit is, put first things first. And one of the thought-provoking questions from the book is like, sit down, evaluate your life, and say, what's one thing I can do moving forward, professionally and personally, just to slowly start involving those changes into your lifestyle. And then I don't know, that book is phenomenal. So it's super dry, but definitely worth.
What, 7 habits?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I wrote down like a personal mission statement. I have that quadrant in my phone. Like I look at it all the time underneath my to-do list.
Right. And so to be helpful here, like in the setup, I kind of mentioned like, do I read all the books or what do I do? Do I go do 7 habits? I mean, it's a commitment to read 7 habits. Like it's like 300 pages. I mean, and I'm not a big reader, but that would be, it's something to make a priority as a takeaway. But so back to the framework. So we talk about health. Yeah, and I think that was a great discussion. So thank you for bringing that up. Health means different things to different people, but ultimately in the framework here, it's primarily your mental health. Physical health often impacts that. I mean, what I've seen is days I work out and meditate, generally better mental day for me. So again, it's a priority. So it's on the calendar. If it's on the calendar, I don't do it. So that's just me. That's just me. And we talked mentors. I think that was some really good discussion around, I think adding in the life coach aspect of it, performance coaching. Anybody else have any thoughts on?
You mentioned that you said the word mentors, plural, as singular. What I found in my life is there's not really any one person that I'm like, oh, you have all the things that I'm looking for or you are the person that actually wants to find out all the life secrets from. So I have different mentors for different things, different specific goals that I want.
Absolutely. Good point. Yeah, Rachel's my mentor for life and marketing. She doesn't even know it, but it's organized. Okay. So we'll talk on like kind of the nitty gritty stuff. Yeah, the company org, your company org structure. Does anybody have any thing that you do to organize like a business plan for the year? I'll just kind of give an example. So over the past couple of years, I've become a pretty big fan of EOS. I'm not I don't sell a thing, but how I've done it recently is just, I started a business, I went in my last role as a VP, just really understanding high level what my personal goals were that they could impact the business, but those personal goals for that year and chunking it down in a quarterly rocks or sets of things that's been helpful to me. So does anybody else follow a similar framework? Yeah, I think it's if you're a business, like a founding CEO and trying to understand that, the principles are all there and sound, but I found just for like your personal brand, just layering in a simple EOS framework, which it's pretty basic. It's like, hey, what are my annual goals? Do they make sense? And thinking about them, chunking that up into quarterly rocks, that's been a helpful process. What about, I did mention part of the org, and we found this in the leadership group and when we've rolled this out in companies, part of the org of you is really understanding your strengths and weaknesses, like your personality profile. Does anybody, the question is, does anybody lean more towards like a DISC profile or a predictive index, or do your companies leverage those?
Use a culture index.
Culture index.
But I've done the DISC before.
Okay.
They're very different.
Was there anything that you found in your DISC or anybody's found in their DISC profile where it helps you understand how you should set your business up as yourself? The way I look at that is, so I'm like a high C, whatever that means, which really means I'm good at, the strengths are like, I'm analytical, like I can work above the clouds, I can be in the weeds and operate. But the weaknesses are I can do paralysis by analysis. There's certain things I just suck at. And so how it's helpful for me as a business owner of myself, it helps me understand where I need to lean into my resources, mentors to fill those gaps. So it's really about understanding your weaknesses as a business. And then I own it. Like I can tell you, like I've had failures in business because I've been too over analytical and not just like go do it. Right. Like high D's, like most CEOs, yeah, like this guy, most CEOs, like just, I don't know where I got this figure, a lot of C's, a lot of D's. Okay. And the D's are just, they can be direct and they've got their strengths. They get shit done, but they got their weaknesses. So it's understanding in your business, the DISC profile, that's what you want to use, how to leverage that. Sir.
So I have a question on that. In terms of like strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
So I guess it's more of a question to get your opinion. Do you believe in doubling down on your strengths as opposed to focusing on weaknesses? Or do you try to work on both?
For me, on my weaknesses, I know that's what's preventing me from achieving things. So I lean into other resources for my weaknesses. And either I outsource it or I'm almost 43 years old. Like there's just certain things that I'm just not going to correct. I mean, there's things I can do better, but for my weaknesses, just being aware of them and then understand the partners that I need to bring in, whether it's a vendor or a life coach, whatever the thing is to help with my weakness. That's how I look at weaknesses. With my strengths, I mean, I'm good at some stuff, like I'm good at things. And yeah, I want to continue to hone those skills, but it's not, I guess to answer your question, I probably spend more time thinking about my weaknesses and how to mitigate them with partnerships and mentors and resources than I do about building my strengths.
Yeah, I'm a business coach. I focus on my strengths and I meet with him monthly. And basically everything that I'm stuck on are my weaknesses. It's just understanding that's the front. It's like,
Yeah.
I am not good at this. This is going to suck. I'm going to have to like really focus on it. I'm going to have to suck it up and block time away. That's how I look at the weaknesses. And like the
Yeah.
business coach, a monthly check-in or a quarterly check-in. It's something I should have figured out 2 months ago that he's going, all right, he's going to pretty much. Let's just push it. You know?
Yeah. It's like they do the thing. Okay. You have a weakness of procrastination, like having accountability. So yeah, at least similar to me, like I leverage a coach and he knows my weaknesses are, and we talk about it. And I'm like, you hold me accountable to this thing. And because it's my frog, like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to have that difficult conversation with my investor or whatever the thing is, like,
And the next time I see him, it better be done or else my ass is grass. So
Yeah. All right, we're coming up on time. So let me see here. So the last thing would be, so for brand. Okay. So, the one thing I'll say about brand is just how I look at the branding is no matter what, and it kind of ties into your personality profile. It ties into your experience. You've got a brand for the people you work with. Your family, they see you. I mean, your business has a brand. The business of Trip, trip.com, those are a thing anymore, has a brand. Can anybody give me an example of like somebody I'm just picturing like people on LinkedIn that do a really good job of branding themselves. In my opinion on it, it's just like, hey, it's there. Like people understand the brand of that company, right? Any thoughts or challenges on brand? It's kind of an essay. Yeah, go ahead.
He's a competitor of mine, but when COVID hit, he and his wife sold their house and got a, RV, and they've been going to different parks and doing their rock climbing and hiking, and he writes about that from the road, and only at the very bottom does he get to, and if you need help, right? And it's really compelling. I read it, I share it. He just charges a lot more than I do, so I know that we're not competing with each other, but it's fascinating how they turned this awful thing into achieving their goal of going to every, national park.
Well, I think what you're saying is something, when you said who's good at it, a lot of people say this person, but something you've worked with in the past, his name is Josh Beach. He's great at building his personal brand. And I think what makes him great at it is he shares his authentic self. I mean, he's talking about the barista he met at Starbucks, or it's a consistency and it's very authentic to him. So I think, and what you're saying, it sounds like some of this guy was sharing authentically, like, oh, by the way, if you need some help, I'm happy to help you. But you're meeting with him, you feel like you get to know him, and then you're like, oh, that people want to do business with people they know and trust. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for that example. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And you both helped me land on that, Lee.
I talked to a lot of candidates between 2 to 5 years of their career. They all are pretty good at sales and they like their company. They want to know, how do I get into management? So you started your career one of 30 STRs, one of 50 AEs, a big sales organization. And of that, 80% cohort, you're one of 5 to 10 that made it up. So how do you climb the ladder within a big organization with the exclusion of the cheerleader type? Like, let's say that you're not like super extroverted, high energy. How do you climb the ladder up in that big of an organization when you don't get lost?
Do the extra things that get you recognition, special projects, helping your other peers.
I'd say in my experience though, like I'm in management now and I started at RevJet and then I went to Cirrus and it was SDR and then let's say, and now I'm in management. And I am not the cheerleader type. I'm very loud and energetic, but I'm definitely not the cheerleader type. But like helping people one-on-one, like that gets noticed and like they tell other people that you're helping them. Volunteering to be in other projects with like the product team, the engineering team, the marketing team, like just doing things outside of your normal role, like offering that training the new people. Like you don't have to be the energetic cheerleader type to do those things, but someone's going to notice and someone's going to say, well, oh, like that's a really great idea. I just figured out. And they'll be like, oh, well, this person helped me. So
I think also just reminding them that you're always on display. In the email communications that you send, in the internal Slack communications, even if it's just like the social channel, or when you're at the company mixer, you're consistently being overserved and the person people are having to babysit. Like it all contributes to your personal brand and it's noticed by everyone.
This is something that you all touched on earlier that someone showed me earlier on in my career was aligning yourself with organizational goals rather than just the role. And so that looks like all those other different aspects brought in. But I mean, if I'm aligning myself to what CEOs say the business is doing, then there's a good chance I'm doing the right things if it's above and beyond my role.
Yeah. So understanding of what the executive goals are and just helping that.
Can I just add one point to this whole conversation?
Sure.
I love the framework and everything you provided. And I think for me, the big takeaway was reminding myself that I think one of the most important things as you do this framework is to keep in mind, having really reflected on what your weaknesses are. Are you self-aware? Because I think everyone knows and is honest about what their strengths are, but I don't think everyone's honest and open about what their weaknesses are. And so often the weaknesses that get you in trouble. I was notorious for starting my day off with raging, yelling, oh, this is bullshit.
You ate the frog. Nice.
And I was like, what the hell am I doing? And I woke up one day, I said, I would read them. I would pretend like I'm writing it in my mind and I'd put it aside and I'd readdress it in 12 hours, whatever. That was my weakness. I finally recognized it. People noticed that a noticeable change in me, or they thought because I didn't do these things anymore. But I think one of the big takeaways here, probably part of your health and all that is, and mentorship is, do that exercise of writing down what your weaknesses are, right?
Yeah. So I know we're at time, and again, I'm happy to stick around and we can follow up and we can talk more about it if you want to talk one-on-one. But I do want to do a quick recap on how this can actually be applied, and so everybody can get some use out of this. It's been very, very good conversation, and I really appreciate it. So when I close these out, it's, I say one thing, your comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing grows there. So, for some actionable to-dos, we're going to go around the room. And you don't have to do a mea culpa and say, I need to work on this, work on that. But let's go around the room real quick and just in the office here, what's one thing, what's one thing that you could, if you've got this, here, I'll go back to the framework, backup slides. So if you were to take this forward, I can send this out if anybody wants this. This is a trademark graphic by Rachel Buchanan. Happy to send it out. But if you've got this in front of you, the idea is like, hey, weekly I'm looking at it. My health is a 1, 5's great, 1's crappy. Where am I at? So just coming off this conversation right now, mentors, organization, if you had this in front of you Monday morning, what's one thing that you want to lean into? And then, you can even ask in your wrap up, does anybody have any interest in mentoring, or, Do you have a life coach you can refer? Something like that. So be happy to share stuff like that. So just on the wrap up, we'll start back here again. You're on the
I
spot.
don't have an answer, I'll be honest. I'm not sure what I would do yet.
Okay.
I know personally, the thing I'm trying to focus on is how to use the hours of the day wisely and not waste time. There's always, 8 hour or whatever day you work, I book my calendar completely and then I let things shift and move around and I don't get back things and I end up, wasting half the day. And that's what I'm trying to figure out, how to stop myself from doing that. Because if I can get 1 more hour of productive revenue generating activities in the day, that's going to be extremely valuable myself. So,
Awesome. Is there anybody that can help you with that?
yes. Well, I am working with a sales coach and I do have a life coach and I have a personal trainer. Those are my
Nice.
three coaches I'm
All right.
trying to work with, and two of which I've got today.
Man's got the coaches. So
Yeah,
awesome.
I got the coaches, but one of the, I'm just gonna throw this out there, but for me, there's a difference between mentors and coaches.
Yeah.
So mentors to me are the knowledge piece that I want to glean, but I also, your point is, I'd like, that's what I'm cracking the whip on, making me do something, because sometimes I can't hold myself accountable, or, and if you have someone you have to come back to next week and say you did or didn't do it, it sometimes helps quite a bit. So to me, those are two separate things that I'm, so.
Got it. All right. Awesome. Paulie.
Yeah, no, I took the words right out of my mouth. And one theme that I keep coming back to is accountability.